Welcome to KPS Spotlight. I'm Kevin Farr, host and superintendent of the Killingly Schools. KPS Spotlight is a show that I'll be hosting once a month to highlight some of the great accomplishments and achievements of students and employees of the Killingly School District. Our first guest today is English teacher from Killingly High School and also the author of a newly released biography entitled May. His name is Dick Martin, and I want to thank you, Dick, for coming on the show with me today. Give us a quick summary of the book that you've just written, that we have a copy of it right here. And congratulations, by the way, on your accomplishment.
Thank you for inviting me as well. The book is basically, it's a story based on my mother's life. It's not a strict biography, but all the events that occur in it are real. Obviously, I can't make up the dialogue that occurred when she was a little girl and things of that nature. But she went through a lot of tragic events, a lot of ups and downs during the course of her life, grew up during the Depression on a farm in Scituate, Rhode Island. As a result of those circumstances, those events, etc., and there were a lot of tragedies during that time. There were a lot of difficult times for people. Basically, without giving away too much, it has to do with dealing with the results of the Depression, meaning losing farms, losing property, etc., and overcoming a number of obstacles during the course of her life.
I think it's a very important time in our country's history, and especially it's an important time in our history for students of today to understand. And I think with the recent economic downturn that we've had especially, it would be great to see what folks, grandparents and great-grandparents went through in the late 20s, early 30s, right all the way almost up right to the to World War II.
And you're right. And values were different back then, but they're not a great deal different from what they are today. People just, I think, approach them in a different way, in a different manner, perhaps. I think there was more of a toughing it out kind of a situation, kind of a approach to life. My mother's motto was, "It's a great life if you don't weaken," and she stuck to that all her life. And she was always positive, and she just kept on going. As a result of that, ended up raising 4 kids, having to move a couple of times, not as a result of choice necessarily, and having to deal with a number of other issues as well.
Well, I certainly can understand, just based on this quick synopsis of your mother's life and how it inspired you to write this book. About how long did it take from the point at which you were inspired until it was actually published and on the shelves?
Long story. Try to cut it down, because I know we don't have that much time on the show. A number of years I was going to write it, and I had interviewed my mother, taped her when I interviewed her. She was 88 when she passed away in 2003, but besides teaching, I was always working at various publications, Providence Journal, Providence Magazine, etc., and I left a couple of different times to start the novel, and then something else would happen. And finally, after she passed away, I just said, I need to sit down and do this. And it took me about 6 months to really rough it out. And then a couple of years after that, going back and forth and rechecking a few times and events and names and places to kind of finalize it. Handed it to friends who are publishers and editors and had them take a look at it. Then hired a consultant to go through it with me who didn't know me, didn't know the book or anything, which I felt really was a big plus. And when that was done, it was pretty much done. So, you know, a process, I would say, just like any writing process.
And I would imagine having fresh eyes on something that was near and dear to your heart, that would basically tell whether or not it was marketable, you know, into the public.
And that was another thing that Sophie Powell was the editorial consultant I hired. And other people read it and said, oh, I like this, but it's always that kind of little caveat. Do they really like it, or do they not want to say they don't like it, or that they didn't understand a part or something of that nature? And Sophie was very honest, very positive, and as a result of her input, I made some changes to the book. And everything I've gotten, knock on wood, every response I've gotten so far has been really good. The sales have gone really well. I've had some excellent reviews in magazines, and we'll see where all this goes.
In addition to writing this great novel, this great story of your mother's life, and also day-to-day teaching of English, you also are involved in assisting the students in publishing the school newspaper. Can you just give me a little bit about the school newspaper and when it comes out and how folks at home can access that document?
The Red Line, it's been my good fortune to have a number of excellent students who participate in the Red Line school newspaper. We've won a number of awards in the annual American Scholastic Press Association competition. We do it from scratch. We do it like I would do it in my newsroom if I were working in a newsroom. The students sit down, we brainstorm ideas, we assign stories, we assign deadlines. They have to have their stories edited. They have to do their own interviews. They have to go out and take good notes, otherwise somebody's going to hear about it. So it's a really good hands-on skill type process. And then of course we have to lay it out. We take all our own photos, etc. We do publish hard copies, depending anywhere from 100 to 175, depending upon demand. But it is also online. All you have to do is go to the Killingly High School website, and you'll see it there, and you can click on it, and it's in full color.
That's great. Is this book about your mom, is this the first book you've written, or have you written others?
It's the first book I've written. I've been a professional writer for over 30 years. As I mentioned, I have had stories. I've been fortunate enough to receive a great deal of recognition as a result of that. One thing that people may not know is that I do have a story in the Smithsonian. When I was working for Providence Magazine, I wrote about the 6th Battalion, Naval Battalion, and their role on Normandy Beach for the magazine. And as a result of that, the Smithsonian asked if they could put it in their archives because they didn't have a lot of information about that. If you type in Normandy Invasion by Dick Martin, Google, it will come up under the list.
That's pretty impressive.
I've just been right guy in the right time, I guess.
Well, I've used that line in the last 4 or 5 months since I've been in Killingly myself. How long have you been here at Killingly High School?
This is year number 13. I taught at Burrillville High School before this in Burrillville, Rhode Island for 28 years. I started teaching when I was like 5.
There we go.
Point that
That was going to be my next question. But I guess it's similar to my story, is when you love what you do and you want to be with kids and you want to help kids, then you are the right guy at the right place at the right time.
Oh, thank you.
And,
people ask me if, why don't you leave teaching and just write? I don't leave teaching because I love teaching. And I've had the opportunity to leave and be a full-time writer, and I've chosen not to. I'm just one of those people who's been lucky to do things that I really like in the course of my life and get paid for both of them.
Absolutely. What's the next project on the horizon for author Dick Martin?
2 things, actually, and people have suggested I do this. I've written over 1,000 columns, and my one plan is to cull out certain columns from those and make a book out of those, and then the next one would be a memoir, an actual memoir based on my own life, and having to deal with 2 older brothers, which was always a chore and interesting. Anybody who has older male siblings knows what that is like. And do it with a sense of humor, of course. I mean, what I think is funny, they may not think it's funny.
Well, it sounds like we'll wait with bated breath to read that as soon as you make it available to us. First of all, on behalf of the entire school district, I want to thank you for your service to our children. I want to wish you well with your new book. It's called May, and it's available at bookstores.
You can get it. It's at Amazon.com. It's at Barnes & Noble. I am going to have a book signing at Hank's Restaurant on Route 6, Brooklyn, on the Saturday after Thanksgiving at like 2 to 4. And you can pick up a book there as well, a signed book there.
Sounds good. I already have a signed book, and thank you for that, by the way. And you can enjoy a nice lunch while you're there at Hank's, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to future things from you. And when we come back, Ashley O'Brien will be interviewing one of our seniors, Jessica Dastis.